Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. I am authorized by Cabinet to make the following statement, and I thank you for the opportunity to deliver this statement on the annual report of the Financial Intelligence Unit of Trinidad and Tobago for the year ended September the 30th, 2021. In accordance with Section 18 of the Financial Intelligence Unit of Trinidad and Tobago Act, the Director of the FIUTT submitted to the Minister its annual report for the year ended September 30th, 2021, which has been laid in Parliament today, I believe. Today, I would like to outline to this House some of the main highlights of this report. In the area of combating money laundering and the financing of terrorism, the following legislative actions were undertaken. Firstly, in December 2020, the Miscellaneous Provisions Financial Action Task Force Compliance Act number 25 of 2020 was enacted to, inter alia, fortify the anti-money laundering, counter financing of terrorism, counter proliferation financing, also known as AML, CFT, CPF regime in Trinidad and Tobago by amending the Financial Intelligence Unit of Trinidad and Tobago Act, the Proceeds of Crime Act, also known as POCA, and the Anti-Terrorism Act. Secondly, during the period under review, other legislative actions were taken to bolster the AML, CFT, CPF regime. These include the assent of the Miscellaneous Provisions FATF Compliant Act 2020 on December 18, 2020, which amended the Central Bank Act to, inter alia, empower the bank to administer administrative fines under any written law under which it has a supervisory role or general administration. Additionally, the assent of the Evidence Amendment Act 2021 on February 25, 2021, which amended the second schedule of the Evidence Act to include the words Financial Intelligence Unit of Trinidad and Tobago, thus making it possible that the FIU documents may be received in evidence in the courts of Trinidad and Tobago and all legal proceedings once certified by the Director, and the assent of the Gambling, Gaming and Betting Control Act on July 12, 2021, which ensures that the FIU continues to be the supervisory authority responsible for the AML, CFT, CPF supervision of gambling establishments, and thereby requiring new establishments to apply for registration with the FIU within 5 business days of obtaining the license to operate. Mr. Deputy Speaker, in the area of fostering a culture of compliance, over the period October 2020 to September 30th, 2021, the FIU continued to adapt and adopt procedures to overcome the challenges experienced as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. In so doing, the FIU encouraged and accepted electronic submissions of completed FIU registration forms, such as the Form RG1, along with all supporting documents via email. Accordingly, Mr. Deputy Speaker, for this reporting period, 506 entities registered with the FIU, bringing the total number of registrants to 3,766 as at September 30th, 2021. This represented a 54% increase from the previous reporting period. The continued compliance of supervised entities to register with the FIU within 3 months of commencing business activity or incorporation as a company, in accordance with Regulation 28.1, is attributed to the realignment of the FIU strategies in response to the changing business environment, the electronic registration I just spoke of. Notwithstanding the challenges of the pandemic restrictions, the FIU also continued to receive risk assessment questionnaires from the Registrar General's Department in accordance with the Non-Profit Organizations Act of 2019. As a result, there was a 128% increase in these submissions from 1,411 non-profit organizations as they sought to meet the extended deadline of January 22. The FIU was also amended, the Act that is, during the reporting period to include Section 18A, which treats with the deregistration of a supervised entity, businesses and individuals that no longer perform functions of a supervised entity may apply for deregistration in accordance with this amendment. Accordingly, 37 entities deregistered over the period. With respect to the supervised entity's obligation to appoint suitably qualified candidates to perform the roles of compliance officer and alternate compliance officer, the FIU took a proactive approach and adopted measures to ensure compliance with this obligation. As a result, the FIU observed an increase in the submission of compliance officer fit and proper questionnaires during the period. In terms of terrorist property reports, procedures to facilitate the secure electronic submission of quarterly property terrorist reports were implemented by the FIU. This measure resulted in more timely submissions from financial institutions and allowed for faster review of the QTRs by the FIU. Also, with regard to internal controls, independent testing was conducted by competent professionals to assess the adequacy of the AML, CFT, CPF policies and procedures implemented by supervised entities. Though this is a legal obligation, it is also a compliance tool beneficial to both the entity and the FIU. A total of 1,041 AML, CFT, CPF compliance examinations were also conducted on 972 supervised entities in the period. Meanwhile, 88% of non-regulated financial institutions, such as credit unions, building societies, and money of value transfer services registered with the FIU, were tested for compliance. The FIU's outreach and awareness efforts to the NPO sector also expanded by 33% during the period, due to the conduct of 12 virtual and outreach awareness sessions. The FIU further embarked on a digital outreach initiative of development videos to widen its engagement of supervised entities, stakeholders, and the public. Mr. Deputy Speaker, in the area of financial analysis, during the reporting period, the FIU received 1,638 suspicious transaction reports or suspicious activity reports, representing a decrease of 11% compared to the previous period. Of these, 1,593 were submitted via FIU Connect, and the other 69 were received via manual submissions. The banking sector submitted 82% of the SDRs or SARs, followed by the MVTs accounting for 7%. During the reporting period, submissions from insurance companies, investment companies, mortgage companies, jewelers, private members club all decreased over the period. This can be attributed to the restrictions in the operations of these businesses as a result of COVID-19. Of the 1,638 STRs, SERs received, 16%, 262 reports, were associated with the demonetization of the cotton-based $100 bills. Of these, 24 reports were submitted under Section 52 of the POCA. The total monetary value of the 1,638 STRs, SARs received amounted to $3,177,713,721, of which $2,086,588,624 were completed transactions and $1,091,125,097 were attempted transactions. This represents a 136% increase in completed transactions and a 96% decrease in attempted transactions when compared to the previous period. Suspected tax evasion ranked the highest among the 5 most common reasons for the submission of STRs or SARs, representing 534 persons. This was followed by money laundering, 477 persons, suspicious financial activity, 290 persons, fraud, 231 persons, and breach of exchange control, 40 persons. These 5 suspected criminal conducts accounted for 96% of the total number of STRs and SARs, and 98% of the total monetary value of all combined. With regard to the financing of terrorism, the FIU received 8 STRs, SARs on suspected financing of terrorism, compared to 12 in the previous period. This represented a 33% decrease of financing of terrorism-related STRs, SARs, may be attributable to the apparent collapse of the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria, ISIS. Overall, 7 intelligence reports were disseminated to local and foreign law enforcement agencies and foreign FIUs. The FIU took note of the change in administration in the Islamic Republic of Afghanistan. This change has caused the Egmont Group to disconnect the Financial Transactions and Report Analysis Center of Afghanistan, their FIU, from the Egmont Secure website. The FATF also expressed its concern about the current and evolving money laundering, financial, of terrorism risk environment in Afghanistan. In the area of strategic alliances, cooperation, and collaboration, the FIU received 11 requests from foreign authorities, representing a 50% decrease compared to the previous period. These requests featured a total of 26 subjects, in contrast to the 204 in the previous year. The suspected criminal conduct in the majority of cases was corruption, with 6 requests comprising 14 subjects. In the area of resources and infrastructure, 18 contract vacancies were filled, while 3 staff members exited for other opportunities, and 1 staff member passed away. Attracting and retaining staff to the FIU continues to be a challenge. However, in collaboration with the HR Department of the Ministry of Finance, the FIU has commenced the recruitment of persons to fill vacant positions. In terms of its strategic priorities for 2022, the FIU will continue the recruitment and training of staff. Additionally, measures will be undertaken to ensure the safety and well-being of staff. The FIU will also continue its digitalization initiatives in keeping with government's thrust for digital transformation and a digital public service. Further legislative amendments will be introduced in areas such as the extension of the range of sanctions to include administrative fines, provision of a clear understanding of CFT, CPF obligations for NPOs, amendments to the Act, and the inclusion of the regulation, supervision, and monitoring of fintechs, virtual assets, and virtual asset service providers for AML, CFT, CPF. Finally, Mr. Deputy Speaker, the FIU intends to take a proactive approach to continually meeting and surpassing FATF recommendations 29 and immediate outcome 6 in particular. There will be specific focus on the continued provision of timely reports on existing and emerging trends, patterns and red flags alerts of financial crimes affecting stakeholders in Trinidad and Tobago, continued provision of operational and strategic analysis products to LEAs and competent authorities, active promotion of AML, CFT, CPF compliance, awareness, supervision, and enforcement to supervise entities, NPOs, and electronic money issuers. Continued implementation of IT solutions to improve the supervision process, strengthening the cooperation and collaboration with our domestic and international stakeholders to further improve our analysis products in the fight against money laundering, financing of terrorism, and PF, and seeking to further obtain and have access to the widest possible range of financial, administrative, law enforcement, and commercially held data to effectively and efficiently perform its functions. I thank you.